when we show up in mass numbers, right, hundreds or tens of thousands of people, I think that sends a message to the world, like that we're taking physical ground, and it's a form of protest in some ways that I think is underrated. I actually created a promo code for you guys. Altcoin Daily gets you 10% off.
That's what we like. The guests coming on and offering something to our audience. 10% off the biggest Bitcoin conference of the year. Hell yeah.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to Altcoin Daily. My name's Austin, here with Aaron, joined with friend of the channel. We've known this guy for a long time, George Mekhail, co-author of Thank God for Bitcoin, and just regular at the OC Bitcoin meetups.
Yo,
and thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me. It's good to see you guys.
Yeah, dude, awesome to see you. And I guess, I don't know if I did the intro justice, but maybe just for the people that don't know you, would you give your background?
Absolutely. Well, actually, we should go back to the very beginning where we met, which was a event that I helped organize in LA called Bitcoin Is. The two of you were there, I think, as media partners. I think you were there doing interviews. So that was the first time I met you guys. That was in 2019, and that was sort of one of my first entries into the Bitcoin space. I helped organize that with Russell Okung, who is one of my business partners. Worked with him now for several years. We partnered on not only Bitcoin Is, but things like the Pay Me in Bitcoin campaign, which hopefully your audience has seen. But
Russ is an NFL player.
Russell Okung, NFL player. Carolina Panthers most recently, offensive lineman, all-star or Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, and overall great guy and Bitcoiner. So we kind of fell down the rabbit hole together, and became a Bitcoiner in 2017. He had his infamous Pay Me in Bitcoin tweet, and we sort of rallied around that message of how do we create this Bitcoin circular economy where people are receiving their income in Bitcoin. We negotiated with two NFL teams that he was with. First, the LA Chargers, and they were kind of like, nah. And then he got traded to the Carolina Panthers. They were also like, nah. But we got a little bit further with them because they were willing to actually set up a business bank account. And we partnered with Strike and made it happen. So his income came in and converted instantly into Bitcoin, and the rest is history. So was a part of that. And then, actually out of that event, Bitcoin Is, I met Jimmy Song, who's one of the co-authors of Thank God for Bitcoin. And him and I got to know each other more, started realizing that there was a lot of overlap between the Christian Bitcoin community, or Christians and Bitcoiners in general. And so even sort of with my background, where I used to be a pastor, was really involved in church, got super disillusioned with the church, stopped going, kind of like got mad at God, did the whole thing, rebelled. And when I met Jimmy, I remember like being like, okay, I have to respect this guy because I'm a Bitcoiner and like I've learned a lot from him, but I'm kind of not like, I'm kind of like suspicious of Christians in general. And so he kind of helped me like reconcile that conflict. Because I was like, I love Jimmy and I got to like listen closely to what he has to say. And so we ended up co-authoring this book with a few other Bitcoiners, and the overall sort of theme, sorry, there's a printer going in the background. The overall theme is making the moral case for Bitcoin. And so it's gotten great response, great reception in the Bitcoin community and in the Christian community. So super excited about that. And then now I work full-time for BTC Inc., which is the company that owns Bitcoin Magazine as well as the Bitcoin Conference. I'm the director of marketing for the Bitcoin Conference. So excited about Miami in April.
Bitcoin Conference, one of the biggest, best ones in the game.
That is correct. We are expecting 35 to 50,000 people this time around, and we have speakers lined up from the president of El Salvador, Nayib El-Bukele, and as well as all sorts of high-profile Bitcoiners. Michael Saylor. We're doing a Sound Money Fest on the fourth day, which will feature the rapper Logic, who's also a Bitcoiner, and several other headliners. Cool. So excited about that.
That's awesome. And is Bitcoin Is the conference coming back? Because that was one of my favorites ever.
Oh, thanks for saying that. No, COVID kind of derailed the overall kind of roadmap of what we were trying to do there. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if we'll do another conference or if that brand will continue to kind of focus on other initiatives like in investments in Bitcoin companies and things like that.
And back then we were like interviewing a bunch of people at the time with media passes. We were hungry.
Yes. That was
Still
awesome.
just as hungry today. But anyway, talked about let's jump right into it. You talked about, thank God for Bitcoin, about the moral case for Bitcoin. I guess before we get there, what is the immoral problem in the world that Bitcoin solves, I guess? What is the problem?
Yeah. So basically fiat money and the money printer and just centralized
the printer.
control. Yeah, the printer.
No pun intended.
Exactly. And that's really what we spend most of the time in the book unpacking, is like, what is the problem? Why do we need Bitcoin? Why is there a moral issue at the heart of this? And what it comes down to is that our labor and our wealth is being eroded and slowly stolen to us by central bankers. And so people don't, I think it's an important place to start when you're talking about Bitcoin, because if you jump right into like the protocol and the technology and the financial benefits, you start to lose people right away. Whereas if you start with, hey, guys, guess what? Everything is broken. You've probably felt this, but no one's really articulated it specifically. And your money is melting, essentially. If you start there, then people tend to listen a little bit more closely. I think that's why it's resonated with people, is like, people they feel violated, right? Like you're stealing from me. Like I already worked hard, I already put that money away, and now it's losing value because somebody else is deciding to print money with no consequences.
So what can the average person do? Like it seems like the government, the Fed, with or without us, they're doing their own thing. What can I do?
That's a great question, because I think this is where obviously Bitcoin comes in terms of just like buying and holding, which is, I think if you've been around the space any length of time, that's sort of the message, right? Buy and hold Bitcoin, and with a low enough time preference, if you have enough patience, you will reap the rewards of that. But I think that, some of the things I'm more passionate about are that this is not only something to just buy and hold and like not think about, but there's more to it than that, right? Like we're building a real sense of not just community. And I know it's like a buzzword that's controversial with a lot of people, but like real life relationships and alliances where people are aligned, right? Like, and I think COVID is a great example of why we need something like this, because I think there's a lot of people right now who are looking out the world, watching the news, scrolling through Twitter or whatever, and they feel a little bit hopeless. They feel a little bit like, I don't jive with all this. I don't necessarily agree with all of this, but I don't know what to do, right? Like I'm just one person. And what's great about Bitcoin and the broader sort of Bitcoin community is you can actually have a tangible plan and you can take action that moves the ball forward. And it's not just by buying and holding Bitcoin. That's the first step, but like being a part of and engaging with the community, like showing up to meetups, right? We're showing up to these events where you get to meet people. I mean, again, this is our story. This is how, like, I know I'm on the show right now because I know you guys in real life. Like I met you guys, I've got to know you, I've seen you several times. I know what you guys are about. Like, and I think that's a really important component to what's going on. I know you've had Brian Harrington on the show, a good friend of mine. Like, we're building something that is slowly going to be the alternative for people to opt into as more and more people realize that the game that they're playing is rigged.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. You meet so many cool local people that are Bitcoiners and into the kind of stuff that you're into. And it's cool to meet them in real life because they do actually exist. What do you think is better right now, for them to buy their ticket to the Bitcoin 2022 conference or go to a meetup? What's the best move right now?
I mean, definitely do both. If you can only do one, like, go to your local meetup. But if you can make it out to Miami in April, I think it's important on a couple different levels. So when we show up in mass numbers, right, hundreds or tens of thousands of people, I think that sends a message to the world, like that we're taking physical ground, and it's a form of protest in some ways that I think is underrated. That like we're here, no one's going to tell us not to show up. We're not really like in your face double middles to the system in this context, though that's kind of the underlying message of what's happening, right? Like you look at the president of El Salvador and sort of what he's doing and the messaging that he's coming out with, where like the IMF is giving him crap for adopting Bitcoin as legal tender. And he's just like, look, this is better for my people. And that's kind of how I look at Bitcoin. Is it's not this, we're not like trying to take down the system. it's like a life raft. It's like the ark for the flood, right? It just exists because the system is burning down, and it's an alternative that, you can get on the life raft, or you can kind of drown with the Titanic. But yeah, I think that's what's important about local meetups and regional events and the sort of national or global conference, where it's like the global pilgrimage of all Bitcoiners coming together, is that we need to take physical ground and make a statement.
I loved, to go off your point, I think this is a quote from Andreas Antonopoulos, but he says, "You shouldn't wish for the ship to go down, but it's nice to know you have the lifeboats available," which
Amen.
I relate to completely.
Absolutely.
One of the things I like, hey, Andreas, not me. But one of the things I I think you have great perspective on just big picture Bitcoin, where the future is headed in broad strokes. Like, what excites you the most for 2022 and beyond, this decade, as crypto seeps into the culture?
Yeah, so this is, I totally agree with Andreas's quote. But I think what excites me about 2022 is that we have that alternative, because like, I'm an optimist. I try to see things from a positive and optimistic point of view, but I think where we're at right now is a critical juncture for humanity. And so I'm excited about Bitcoin shining in the face of that bleak reality, right? Like, I think things are going to get worse before they get better. I know that's not the most positive, optimistic thing. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to be a realist about kind of where things are headed. And I'm excited about the fact that that Bitcoin is sort of having its moment, like right when it's supposed to, when it's designed to, right? So that's one thing I would say. The other thing is, like, I think there's a lot of practical strategies that Bitcoiners are starting to implement. The one that I'm looking forward to the most is Bitcoiners finding a way to acquire real estate using Bitcoin as their collateral. I have a background in mortgage finance. I've helped people sort of buy homes through the traditional means, and I'm passionate about finding a way to allow people to use their Bitcoin as collateral without having to sell it to buy real estate. Because I think us, again, taking physical land and having a land strategy is really important, and owning and holding real estate, I think, is an important part of that.
They're not making any more land. They're not making any more Bitcoin.
Facts.
Did it surprise you at all in 2021? I know it's like, obviously you're in it for the long term, but did it surprise you at all in 2021 that Bitcoin didn't get to 100K? And what do you think about price prediction in 2022?
Well, look, we still have 9 days left, so all hope is not lost. No, I'm definitely, I think it caught a lot of people by surprise, and I think, so I've been around since 2017. I've seen a full cycle now, and I've gotten to the point where I'm kind of immune to the drawdowns and the sideways trading and all that kind of stuff. But even for me, I had like expectations at some level, and that's been a lesson of like, Bitcoin's going to do what Bitcoin's going to do, and we don't know all of the factors that are going into sort of price manipulation, and even like the hash migration from China and how that impacted this cycle. So I would say I was a little bit surprised. I don't know if I could say disappointed quite yet. I mean, we're still at 49K, like
True.
Way up from a year ago.
Right. Yeah. Like let's zoom out, put everything in perspective, and let's check our expectations and recognize that, Bitcoin is still right on track to perform better than any other asset ever. And adoption is up. Institutions are paying attention. It's just an exciting time to be a Bitcoiner.
Price prediction for 2022?
Oh, price prediction for 2022. I think that we'll definitely hit 6 figures in 2022, which is, Bitcoiners are going to hear that and be like, why so bearish? But like, let's just leave it at that. I mean, we're at 49K on December 21st. 6 figures in 2022, I think, would be a win.
I love it. George, so much more to talk about, but would you just give, plugs for the Bitcoin meetup, as well as thank God for Bitcoin? Links are down below. But before that, just a final call to action or final thoughts for the Altcoin Daily audience.
Final call to action is get to know your local Bitcoiners. Join a meetup. Meetup.com has, I think, 2,000 plus meetups that are related to Bitcoin. 6 million people represented in those groups. So find your local meetup, get connected, show up regularly, get to know people. We're building local alliances with people who are aligned with us in our vision for what our revolution looks like. Be inspired and encouraged by previous revolutions, but recognize that this is a new paradigm, and we have to start living into it and start creating the reality that we want to see. So the call to action really is to get to know Bitcoiners in real life through your local meetups. Come to the conference in Miami. I actually created a promo code for you guys. Altcoin Daily gets you 10% off any ticket. So go to b.tc/conference for more information. Check out Thank God for Bitcoin, and follow me on Twitter at Mekhail, Mekhail. And thanks so much for having me.
That's what we like. The guests coming on and offering something to our audience. 10% off the biggest Bitcoin conference of the year. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Love to see you guys there. And I'm really excited for it. We're almost 100 days away.
Damn. George, thank you so much. I love your perspective. We definitely want to have you on again. But thanks, man.
All right. Thank you, guys.